Harvey Singh, thank you for joining Lessons from Learning Leaders Live. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Dwayne. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'll tell you, one of the things we do is when we put something on the Substack, we have a list of links that we put out. I've subscribed to all kinds of different websites on learning and professional development, e-learning, that sort of thing. And it wasn't that long ago, I posted an article titled, "What is Generative AI and Why is it so popular?" And that had more links or more clicks on that than any other article that day.
Amazing.
So I said, okay, I want to see if I can talk with Harvey and walk through that. But before we get to the article, this is literally the first time we've talked. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Dwayne. So, again, my name is Harvey Singh, and I'm based here in North Carolina. So the last 30 years, I've been involved with learning technology. And I started my work at Stanford, my computer science, and a second master's in education. So with those two things, computer science and education, I've been interested in seeing how technology can impact and help progress learning. And I worked at Apple briefly as well before going out on my own. I've been involved with the e-learning standards, like what led to SCORM, the initiatives, working with the folks who were in the early stages of learning technology before the word e-learning came around, and then got into XAPI and other standards as well. So I've been building learning platforms mostly. And of late, if you look at the last 2 years, I've been heavily involved with AI-based, researching how AI technologies, generative AI particularly, so how can we bring that into the world of e-learning. So that's been my work. And at Instancy, we provide a end-to-end learning platform. So it's designed to be a multimodal, agent learning platform that allows organizations to use large language models and combine that with generating content and also personalizing learning. As you know, that adaptive learning has been something that has been discussed in the learning industry for a long time. And I'm actually also very passionate about performance support, which we'll talk about today.
Bob Pike and I did 2 podcasts on ChatGPT months ago. I guarantee we barely scratched the surface of that topic because we're both very much novices in this. So let's go right into it. And the headline of the article, what is generative AI and why is it so popular? Let's just start with what it is.
Yes. So, the thing is that there is this something called Turing test. So it says that, okay, well, if we can send a query to the computer and if the computer can answer that question and we cannot distinguish whether the human answered it or a computer answered it, then we can think that the Turing test has been passed. That was something that, I used to read about when I was a student way back in my master's, degree at Stanford. But the thing is that now we have gone way past that Turing test, and we are going to go into even further new generation of what can be described as a Turing test, and maybe something we should use a different term for it. Why is it so exciting is that it not only comes back the AI with an answer, the AI is actually creating an entire creative, information and content about what is it that you're asking about. So for example, if I can give a very simple prompt saying that write me an essay about what is it to go to travel to some destination, and it writes a wonderful essay, it gives me all the key destinations that I can enjoy, what can I do there. Now we are actually getting into a very different realm of, the AI being able to help us in a very different way. And it's being actually what we can consider creative, maybe not in the fullest sense, but in a very big sense. It's actually being able to apply the thoughts and ideas in mind and our memory to be able to think through things and be able to come up with not only good answers, but also create and generate content. So generating content and digital information is one of the key aspects of generative AI.
So I guess the next question would be, why is it so popular?
Well, I think that if you look at the further expansion of the generative AI technology and how it's being expanded, so you look at text generation. And now text generation has all kinds of outcomes. I can apply that text generative capability to write an essay, to answer questions, I can use that to write a social post. I can generate some title of some video. I can create a description of a YouTube video. I can generate an ad, which would be displayed on the Facebook, the copy of that. And if that quality of that text is actually going to help me, I can read it and I can say, yes, I want to make some small modification and use it. And I'm thinking about this XYZ topic. And please tell me what more can I add to it. And the generative AI comes back with many ideas and suggestions. It's kind of like, it removes that writer's block, so to speak. And I'm not really caught up in thinking through all the details of the words. I have an idea, I have a spark in my mind. And if the generative AI can take that spark and help me broaden it, help me, articulate it, and I say I resonate with that. Yes, out of these things, I may pick some ideas and I can say, now please expand on this, because generative AI can also spin a lot of words and relate it to what I'm speaking about. So textual generative AI, this has a very broad capability in and of itself. And as when the initial versions of the GPT came out, a lot of people were very fascinated and they start to use that for writing marketing materials. And as a matter of fact, even for our e-learning tutorials or some of the common topics like, how do we work on a computer, or how do we write some program, or some of the common kinds of things, you can very easily have ChatGPT. Even the early days of ChatGPT, it was generating such content. Now, that's just a starting point. Now, if you go to the next level, saying, okay, well, this generative AI doesn't stop at text, it can generate images. Now, all of a sudden, you have gone to a different playing field. Now, it can actually help me visualize things. It can create images that I can, in fact, if I have the licensed version of the tool, I can generate images and I can use them in my own cover page of my podcast. I can use it for my e-learning ebook, or I can use it for my e-learning tutorial or my article, and so on. So that images also doesn't stop there, because if I can now broaden that to say that, okay, paintings and creative artwork and cartoons, and there's an endless realm of creative types of imagery that we can create and think of. And if the generative AI can get very good at it, which is getting very, very good now, in fact, it's only going to get better. Now that it's another level. Okay. Then it doesn't end there. Well, what if I can apply that to generating, music? Okay. Now there's generative AI available, which has been trained on very, very large data set of wide variety of music and different genres of music. And I can come in and say, hey, give me a rap music on, something about going to New Orleans or something. Okay. Now and then it's please put it in blues, and please emphasize that blue note in the blues, music, and make it a little bit happy, kind of a tone. And all of a sudden, it gives me the lyrics, comes to the music, and it gives me all the instrumentation. And I can even say, oh, no, please enhance the bass, a little bit more. Oh, by the way, change it over here, and it kind of modifies that. And I have an entire, new piece of music. It generated for me out of nothing. I mean, it's mind blowing, right? So you have this capabilities of generative AI getting added, stacked up on one on top of the other, and it gets more and more exciting. Now you come back and apply that to, say, videos. Well, generative AI is a little bit new at the video, but it's getting better. In 2024, we're going to see exciting possibilities. As a matter of fact, the avatars can speak, Synthesia, a lot of the other applications are already available that e-learning folks are using, as you know. So you can actually say, I want this character and I want to change the hair color. Maybe I want to change the dress and the shirt color. And I want to put my company's logo on the shirt, and I want to make a video, and I want to put it out there. So it's kind of like I have a spokesperson, and I can just tell it to speak about what's beautiful is. I can say that, please check my website, and I want this spokesperson over here to speak about my product, and this is the web page. And it's actually going to create a very authentic, it's going to read my web page, analyze that, and generate a video with a talking person with my company's logo. I mean, that's mind-boggling, right? And okay, I can do that by just making a simple prompt, and I can publish that on YouTube. Now, earlier, if I had to do the same thing, oh my gosh, I have to worry about, okay, who do I hire, and the studio, the cost, and the this and that, and making changes to it, and I go through all of that again. It's mind-boggling. So
Yeah,
you,
and the process of all of that too, the cost of the process of getting the proofs and then selecting which one you like. Yeah.
right,
There was a video I saw the other day that it kind of blew my mind. And I try to stay up to date on what's going on with AI and all the different products and all the
right.
different ways of using it. This was a video of two comedians who were listening to audio. And what had happened is somebody had taken, I'm assuming, a chat GPT, and they had it act as a deceased comedian named George Carlin, and
Mhm.
said, write an entire act in the voice of George Carlin talking about how AI will be the death of stand-up comedy as a profession.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so then they took that script, they put it in another program that they used to recreate the voice and cadence and inflection of George Carlin, and
Mhm.
then gave it this script. And these two comedians are listening to this, and I'm here to tell you, I've watched a lot of George Carlin in my day. I would have said that was George Carlin,
Mhm.
and just the way not only the voice, the sound of the voice, but the way he delivered the jokes.
Right.
It
That's
was
amazing.
mind-boggling, like you said.
Well, the thing is that the data that the generative AI can pull together to answer questions and generate content, it's much bigger, repository of knowledge and information than any human can do.
Hmm.
So therefore, it gets some extra capabilities that even though we as humans we obviously going to be using a lot of our memory and knowledge to think through things and produce something. Whether you are a doctor, you're a lawyer, or a writer, or a instructional designer, or what have you, we're going to use what we know and then we're going to build on it and extrapolate it and apply it. But generative AI has a vast, much larger pool of data to work with, and it can do so very fast because of the capabilities of the advanced, CPUs, GPUs, and all the graphics technology that we have. So I think that the this stacking up of different kinds of things we can generate, it gets more and more exciting, and that's why it's more and more popular. Now, if you think about expanding that capability of text, now if I can actually put it in the right sequence, like you were saying, I can create a story out of that, or I can create an instructional sequence out of that, or I can create even a logic for a game, or I can use it for a variety of other things which are more than just a simple essay or an article, right? Which is just a straightforward one page or 1,000 words of content. But I'm able to now organize it and structure it in a certain dialogue or a certain role play or something like that. That gets even more exciting, and we can combine that with other tools to make it more meaningful. The other aspect of it is that we can take the data from the generative AI, and we can articulate it in a certain format, like a tabular format or even a programmatic format, and we can feed it into other programs. So, for instance, let's say that you want to create 50 different, ads or maybe quotations or something like that. Now, with generative AI, you create the quotations, it gives you the text, but now you can say put it in a tabular structure or the structure that you wanted, and then you can feed it into a spreadsheet, and then furthermore, that spreadsheet could be fed into another application, which will spit out 50 different quotations or slides or whatever the case might be. So now we're really getting into a next level of output that you can create. You can create PowerPoint slides for presentations, you can create videos, you can create games, and a whole range of things. And every day people are thinking of new ideas and how this could be applied. That opens up a whole Pandora's box of what's possible. Then we look at the ability for the generative AI to not only create text and images and even videos or audio and music, but generate code. Software application and software coding kind of is been one of the things which needed very specialized skills of software engineers and developers. A lot of training. We go through a lot of rigorous uh, curriculums, and we learn the art of programming and software engineering. But if now the AI can generate code, and now the generative AI is trained in so much of previous code and stuff like that, it can actually generate code in any programming language. So you can say, I want to write it in this language or that language, or I've written it in language A, please transform it to language B. Now, again, in the early version of the generative AI, the software programming is more, I would say, not as advanced. It's maybe completing the code that the human developer is writing, but it's getting to the point where it can create chunks of code. And if the engineer knows how to apply those chunks and know which one is correct or not, they can really save a lot of time. So developers already saving 20, 30, 40, 50% of their, some of them even more so. So particularly the less skilled programming can be now handled. And we're heading to the point where maybe in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, the AI could get sophisticated enough to create a complete software application, end to end. So that's where this generative AI gets mind-bogglingly, effective and makes us productive. And the popularity is going to grow month by month, year over year because of that.
So you mentioned something earlier. I want to get a deeper dive into real quick. What do you mean when you say prompts? I want to make sure that we're not falling victim to the curse of knowledge. There might be some folks out there who've never used a prompt before, so they don't know.
Well, in simple terms, when we look at generative AI, it's like, we need to query the system. Think of it like any kind of when we go to Google right now, we need to ask Google some questions. So we say, what are the best restaurants, in Raleigh? Okay, so then it tells me, best Thai restaurants in Raleigh. So it says, okay, it gives me the answer on that. So that becomes like my prompt. It's kind of like a query. So in a generative AI sense, I am actually writing a prompt to ask the system for some information, or I'm asking the system to create some content. So for example, I say, please write me an article about generative AI, and please emphasize how generative AI can be used for e-learning. So now, and I can furthermore refine my prompt and say, my target audience is, very sophisticated, senior instructional designers and learning and development professionals. And please keep the tone of the voice as very professional, yet not very, not too much jargon or something like that. So I am actually I'm expanding my prompt. I can obviously, if I say, please create an article on generative AI, it'll answer my question and generate a content. But if I can add some more details, I can say, uh, please write an article about generative AI focused on e-learning. Then I have given a better prompt to match with what my intent is. And furthermore, if I add some other meaningful information, such as what my audience is and what the tone should be, or I can say, keep the tone very conversational, then the generative AI would go forward with that prompt, and with a little bit more specifications, it can give me a response which will more match with my real intent. So that's the idea behind the prompt. Now, as you know, that because generative AI has so many different possibilities, when you come to images and music and coding, and so we have to learn different ways of prompting depending on what our task is and depending on which particular generative AI we are using. If I am going to write a software application, my prompt is going to be different, and so on.
Yeah, context in these prompts is so important. And I
Definitely.
wanted to, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to build on that. I don't have to now because you clarified it so well. Context in these prompts is key.
Is key. And another interesting thing about what I like about this generative AI approach is that it's like if I prompt something and I get a result, I look at it, and that gives me more ideas. And maybe I had not thought about certain nuance or certain detail, and I ask it another way. I can say, can you please change it in this way, or can you add this flavor to it? Can you replace that last paragraph? I don't like the way you said it, such and such. And then it will say, okay, it's so smart enough to know that it's talking about only the change in the last paragraph. The rest of it, it's not going to bother. It's going to keep it. And the last paragraph, it will bring that change that you asked for. So in this way, you're molding it, you know, and that's creative process. I mean, I think as humans, we love that ability to be able to mold something the way we want. And that again gives rise to the popularity that you spoke about. You know, I have a prompt. Now, I may not have a perfect prompt right away, but I can evolve it, and that's perfectly okay. And the system is not actually getting upset with me. Okay. It's allowing me to be creative and allowing me to kind of add more to it. It's not getting upset at all. So I'm good. I mean, it's in fact, if I was to do the same thing with a human coworker, the human coworker may get a little bit frustrated after a while, saying, "Why didn't you tell me that to begin with?"
Oh yeah. And that's it's funny. I have a colleague of mine, and we're constantly using Chat GPT. And I said to him one day, "When you type in prompts, do you say please?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do." And I say, "Me too." Uh, and it's I don't want to get in the habit of just making demands and never stop being polite. Plus, when it finally becomes self-aware and rises up, it may look and say, "That guy was always nice to me, so he can live."
That's such a. That's why we have to be careful what we say. That's right. That's right.
So we have a few minutes left. I'm curious. I love the idea. Just at the end of your article, Instancy is at the forefront of integrating generative AI into its learning management system. Tell me what's going on there.
Yeah. So I think that that's really a very exciting journey here, because if you look at the generative AI's potential in so many different ways, and it's like a you know endless possibilities with what can happen. Well, if you look at one area of learning, which is content, is king. You've heard that in the learning industry a long time. Content is king, and so on and so forth. So generative AI is directly applicable to content because it's all about generating content. So as generative AI continues to progress forward and able to generate more sophisticated things and able to create, better understanding of the what we're asking for, and better able to understand by giving a simple example. I can actually show a generative AI a hand-drawn sketch, and I can say, create a page like this for my e-learning course. And it's actually going to take that sketch and make that into a nice, beautiful page and insert nice, royalty-free image. Okay, I can use it commercially, and it creates the HTML page for that. That's kind of where we can do these kinds of things right now, and it's only going to get better, like I said. So we are using the generative AI at Instancy to be able to generate all kinds of content, diagrams and videos and text and language translation, which we didn't touch on earlier, is another aspect of generative AI, where the generative AI is trained on not only English, but also any kind of wide variety of languages. So you can actually prompt it to give you French. So that also is a very expensive process. And now, again, it may not be 100% accurate, but it's getting very good on certain languages. So the point is that for all kinds of content generation, e-learning generation tasks, we are using AI right now at Instancy, and we are getting more. For example, assessment. I want to create a question, and I have the content available, and I want the generative AI to help me write some questions, and I can pick and choose which questions I want to add to my quiz. That's another example. Or I want to create a flashcard. I want some image and text to go along with it, and so on. It's endless possibilities with that. Language translation, adding audio narration, building a video, and any of these tutorials, even creating diagrams. So all of these things generative AI is able to help us with. So content generation, all in all, it's a very big area. Then you come into building conversational interfaces, because as you know that our ability to work with computers is going to get more and more sophisticated and easier. Easier in the sense that I don't have to do a lot, and I don't have to remember a lot, and I can ask, and the computer can help me do that task. So our prompting will become more and more easy and conversational as we go, even to do more sophisticated things. So I believe, because of that trend, that e-learning is going to become conversational. So we need to think, like, what we are doing is that at Instancy we developed a chatbot and an AI agent framework where you can, without doing any programming, create these AI agents and chatbots and deploy them for learning. So for example, there's an AI agent about leadership, and there's another AI agent which focused on customer service. So now I interact with these agents. The agents can give me personalized way to, walk me through that learning. It can even ask me questions, and it tracks my progress because it's not like a general purpose chatbot, which is just to answer questions just for the fun of it. I need to know whether the learner actually has built up the skills and the knowledge so I can track it, and I can use my knowledge of SCORM and XAPI and I can track that. So we've integrated this conversational AI agent platform. And what's really wonderful is that this is multimodal, meaning that the AI agent can understand text prompts, and it can also understand an image, and it can understand what you have shown on the image. Like I take some image from my camera on my device, and it can pull up information related to that. So what we have done is we built a repository of learning objects ranging from simple text, question answer, PDF documents, PowerPoints. So you can take your standard stuff that you already have and make it useful in your question answering capability. So all the stuff that I couldn't use earlier, I had web pages and videos and PowerPoints. I can use all of that to answer my users' questions. So this conversational capability and the content generation capability, and then we also apply that to data analytics, where we can ask questions in simple English language saying, what's the trend of my learning and how my user progressing? Has the user completed such and such? It can answer that in a graphical way. So that's another way we can apply generative AI. So it begins to get very, very exciting, in the
That is,
process.
that's incredible. I love the sound of all that. The whole time you're talking, though, I'm thinking maybe it isn't comedians that AI is going to put out of work. Maybe it's me. Maybe I just need to learn some prompts. But no, I think there's a lot of fear around AI, but I think a lot of that is overblown. And I think what you're
Well,
talking about, these applications, I think it's transformative, not just in professional development across all the
right,
industries.
right. I think we need to look at the technology not from a perspective of fear, but from a perspective of an opportunity and creativity. I mean,
Mhm.
if we think that, hey, wow, so many possibilities, it's kind of like at the beginning, at least the initial stages, we need to be kind of thinking ahead and saying, how can we apply that? Of course, now over time, now if you look at, 5, 10, 20 years from now, maybe you look at huge time saving, that we get to the point where the trend of generative AI is going toward, uh, you see, AGI, which is, a more general purpose, artificial intelligence, which is more like even superhuman kind of qualities of that. When we get toward that, well, in that case, we'll have more free time. Then you and I can just, go to the beach and come up with some ideas, and then the generative AI can tell us what to do. Or, I mean, they're right now already thinking about generative AI running a company, generative
Wow.
AI making your investment decisions for you because it has more data than you can possibly think of, or generative AI have mathematical reasoning and capabilities and logic as well as inference capabilities. So when you have generative AI, which is able to think through complex problems and able to, come up with solutions, and as a matter of fact, we are already working on solutions where generative AI and AI agents kind of work together. So there are multiple agents working together in performing different tasks. So when you get to sophisticated technology like that, at that point in time, as a society, we can think about really truly that goal of, hey, can we have more leisure? Why do I have to sweat a lot to get my work done? So I think
Mhm.
it's a very exciting time. We should look at it as, can we use this time and opportunity to think creatively, to solve some human problems which we are not able to solve, whether it's in the medical domain, whether it's in the climate domain. Also, in our interpersonal communication, can we solve our challenges, and how we've not been able to solve some challenges of how do we work with each other together as human beings? How do we not have wars? How do we not have bad climate? So we try to use our creativity to solve those problems at this time. And I think we should be focused on that. And I think if we put our mind in that, we will never be bored.
It's all very exciting. All very exciting. Harvey Singh, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. It's instancy.com, and
Yes.
I'll have all the links up in the show notes. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with
Thank you
me
so
today.
much, Dwayne. I appreciate that. I enjoyed the conversation. Have a good one.